unusual. If you're squeamish, you may just want to turn your head a little bit, but this is actually interesting. 17-year-old Courtney and her 15-year-old sister Lindsay, they're about to be vaccinated a second time in hopes of preventing cervical cancer. Okay, listen to some of these stats. More than 10,000 women a year are diagnosed with cervical cancer. 4,000 die each year. Worldwide, it affects, listen to this, more than 500,000 women. But a newly FDA-approved vaccine is the first of its kind touted to prevent cervical cancer. So why aren't more girls, women, Lindsay and Courtney, look at them over there, being vaccinated? Like, this is their second vaccination of 3. So joining us now is Dr. John Irwin with Women's Hospital of Texas and the mother of those 2 lovely ladies over there, Linda Newsom. All right, let's talk a little bit about this vaccine, because it doesn't come without controversy. There have been a lot of ads, too, about it.
Oh, yes.
Now, what are getting vaccinated for cancer? It seems sort of odd. It doesn't seem like something we hear all the time. Tell us, what exactly is this vaccine?
Well, this vaccine protects women from 4 types of HPV virus, and we know that HPV virus is responsible for cervical, vulvar, and vaginal cancer and genital warts. It's an incredible problem in the United States and worldwide.
I read more than half of women in their lifetime will have HPV at some time and may not even know it. And you have it and can get rid of it, but it's you can have it and not even know it, but not necessarily get cancer from it, right?
Well, that's correct. A small minority will get cancer. The real problem and the real benefit of this vaccine is protecting against abnormal pap smears.
Okay.
In the United States, last year, about $132 billion of healthcare costs went to managing abnormal pap smears in women.
Okay.
It's an incredible problem. And this vaccine, by eliminating these abnormal pap smears, and 70% of women would have slashed that cost by 70%.
Now, Linda, why did you decide to have the girls vaccinated?
You know, I guess being a nurse, I felt like this was a preventative measure, and you know, I don't know that either one would ever be exposed to HPV, but the stats are there, and there's always that possibility, and I felt like that in the long run, if it gave them the opportunity to be prevented from getting cervical cancer, I felt like it was the right thing to do.
It's human papilloma virus.
Yeah, human papilloma virus.
So that's what we keep talking about, this HPV.
Yes.
But the only way that it can be transmitted is through sexual contact.
Yes.
Okay, so doctors are advising children to get this from 11 to 26 years old before they become sexually active.
That's correct. In fact, that's by far the best time to vaccinate someone is before they're ever exposed to the virus, because if you're if you've been exposed to the virus, then the vaccine may be less effective.
Right.
So the very, very best time is in adolescent girls to get this vaccine.
So, but it's only transmitted through sexual contact.
Yes, but
because I don't want people running around thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to get HPV. I'm going to get HPV," and you're celibate. You know, I mean,
the sexual contact can be non-penetrative sexual contact. It could be manual genital. I mean, it can be all sorts of ways. And face it, 80% of women at one time or another are going to be exposed to this virus in their lifetime. Now, they're clearly not going to necessarily get cervical cancer, but it's a huge, huge issue.
Well, have you, you said being a nurse and the girls are now getting, this is their second vaccination, that it's a series of 3. And what did they feel about it? When you told them that you wanted them to be vaccinated, I'm sure they're like, "Mom, we're not sexually active. We don't care. We don't want to do that."
Well, I guess the way I approached it to them was that it's like any other vaccine. It's a preventative measure, and not to say they're going to get HPV, but if they did and it did take the turn for cervical cancer, this may prevent them from dying from cervical cancer when they're my age. And I just, like Dr. Irwin said, they're the right age group, and I wanted to be proactive and get out there and get them vaccinated.
Now, how much does it cost? Because I read it was pretty exorbitant. At one point, 3 of them cost about $360, but there are some insurance companies, and in fact, you said most now are paying for this.
Yes, they are. But I think in the greater scheme of things, you have to look at that $132 billion. If you think about this vaccine as a $360 single premium insurance payment, even if you have to write a check for it, it's worth every penny.
So, but you can also, once you get this, it also says that you need to maintain, you always should get pap smears, no matter what. So how often should you start, when should you start, and how often should you get a pap smear?
Well, young women should start within 2 years of sexual activity or age 21.
Okay.
And they should have an annual pap smear after age, up until age 30. Now, at age 30, if all the pap smears have been negative, some doctors will go to every 2 years if you have a negative HPV test.
Okay.
I think that most women feel still more confident in their 30s getting an annual pap smear. After 70, you can stop them.
It was somewhat... You did not. This one, you got to look out for this one. And those tap dancers in the front row, too.
Right.
I actually found just this to be, I mean, very startling to me that more than half of the women who are sexually active will have some form of HPV. There are 100 different types of, or forms of the virus, HPV.
Well, there are, but some of those are just animal types. There are only 30 types that infect humans.
Okay, but why so many women have this, and how do you, and you don't know, what are the symptoms?
There are no symptoms, and there's a lot of sexual activity out there.
Right, so there you go. So, except if you're 70, right? No.
Well,
I'm just playing with what you're saying, Dr. Irwin. Okay, but you know, this is getting your girls to do this and having them be teens. Have they talked to some of their, you know, the cohorts, and do they say, well, why are you doing that if you're not having sex? Because a lot of parents are saying this is just encouraging your kids to have sex, because, or just saying another way to say to them, hey, you know what, I want you to just be protected, but go ahead and do it.
Well, but it doesn't really protect them from sexually transmitted diseases as a big global, other than the HPV virus. And we didn't look at it that way when I talked to the girls. It wasn't about, you know, sexual orientation and that sort of thing. It was about preventing the fact that they could contract cervical cancer in their later years, and it's a horrible disease and women are dying from it. So I thought that it was something I could do for them.
I was floored at 10,000 women with cervical cancer and 4,000 die each year. That is a lot. That's a lot. So this is just on the market this first year.
Yes. As of this past summer.
So now when you see those commercials, you'll know what that HPV is. I mean, I've been seeing those forever, and and read up on it, because it really is interesting, some of those facts. So I want to thank you guys both for being here very much, and thank you, girls. How courageous! And Natasha over there, who was giving the vaccine, thank you very much too for being here. You can call the Women's Hospital right there, Women's Hospital right there.com, or 713-790-1234. Okay, stick with us though, because we have more coming up. We'll be right back.